everyone. It's Ada from Poison Rock, and today we have a legend. It's a drummer, and everyone, I think, being especially a drummer, knows we have Chris Slade from, we can say, all the most biggest band in the music history. Hi, Chris. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I didn't mention Poisoned Rock. I should have mentioned Poisoned
It's
Rock,
okay,
of
but you
course.
didn't know. You didn't know. You didn't know. I mean, there is only me on Poison Rock. We can make a mistake, so it's just me. So,
Okay.
of course, Chris, your career is something that I think is almost unbearable. With, I mean, you did the history with all this because as well you did the history yourself in music, and it's something that is not easy all the time. Interviewing musician like you, and especially a drummer. That's really interesting because it's always the singer, the guitarist, and not the drummer, which is always one of my favorite instruments. So I want to ask you, Chris, something that really I think is important to understand as well, how you play, your technique of playing, your influence of playing. If you, of course, um, when you were like literally when Chris was a kid, how he just really started to just picking up the stick, the first album or CD or cassette or song you heard on the radio, whatever that make you click in your mind that this is my lifestyle from now on.
My brother, my older brother, Danny, was a drummer in a street band.
Okay.
And he used to play a big brass snare drum on his leg, you understand? And he used to bring it home to clean. And guess who cleaned it? His younger brother. So because I did that, he taught me a few things, a few licks. I became a street drummer myself in the beginning.
Really?
Yeah, with the thing it's called the Boys Brigade. It's like the Boy Scouts.
Okay, Boy Scout, of course I know them. Yeah.
Like a bugle band, and we used to go around the streets playing. So that was where I started, really. And I was also a drummer in school. In fact, I was in a school with 1,000 boys, and I was the only drummer.
As usual, in the world,
Out of
there's a lack of
1,000
drummer.
boys.
There's a lack of drummer in the world.
Yeah. And so I was in every school orchestra, classical and jazz and everything. I was in every type of orchestra I could possibly be in, which is a great grounding for me starting, because I had to play all types. I couldn't read music, and I didn't want to read music. And I still can't read music, although I used to be able to find my way around.
Okay.
I can't so much now, I haven't looked at a piece of music, drum music, for 60 years, perhaps. Yeah. But I wasn't interested in that side of it. Okay. I was interested in the Beatles.
Okay.
Because they just they broke at about the same time as I got interested, I think, in drumming, and it was I was interested in music before drums, but then when my brother showed me a few things, I was listening to what the drummer was doing, and I didn't want to play anything else. So I can't, to this day, I can't play any instrument apart from drums. I did do classical guitar for about 2 years, but I didn't go any further with it.
Because that's not your vocation.
Because I also loved that. Yeah. But it just sort of the drums adopted me.
Yeah, it's like it's an extension of yourself, the drums.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it was the first instrument. It had to be,
yeah,
you know, first instrument human beings picked up.
Yeah.
You know, a stick and hit something with it.
Yeah.
Probably people, but no.
One thing that I always think about musicians, especially when they play with big bands or anyway, just playing with that before being in that band, even if you are in that band, that you are a musician yourself, and you have your own way of playing, your own technique, which no matter where you go is gonna come with you. And I think that in all the band that you have been, we can hear your influence. Otherwise, you wouldn't be Chris Slade.
Yeah, I'm quite proud of my technique, because my drumming technique, although I'm not a great technician, I can change and adapt to whatever band I'm in. Because I started when I was about 10 or 11 playing drums at home. And I used to practice every single day when I came home from school.
Yeah.
Until my parents came home from work.
I never liked it.
And that was great for at least a couple of hours a day.
Yeah.
I could play drums. So I listening to every sort of music we could. Don't forget, no cell phones, no
YouTube,
no internet.
Radio and what TV maybe brought up for the lucky one who had TV.
I didn't even have a TV.
It was just the radio or some vinyl.
Yeah, just the radio, and that was very sparse. And so I just listened to everything I possibly could. My brother had a record collection.
Okay.
Of things like Elvis Presley and stuff like that. So I knew what was going on in the pop world.
Okay.
And that was made a bit broader by listening to radio.
Cool.
And I found I liked big bands. So I was listening records I was listening to with a little bit later on, when I could afford to buy them, or my parents bought for me, was Buddy Rich the drummer. And I thought he was fantastic, and I listened to anything I could and bought everything I could by him. Tremendous drummer, as a lot of drummers will tell you. And he started many, many people off, even Ringo Starr, Cozy Powell, people like that. So tremendous influence as a drummer through many drummers. Neil Peart, for instance, he was a huge fan of Buddy Rich. So, and many, many more.
Yeah.
And so I started with jazz, listening to jazz.
Okay.
I attempted to play it. I could play it to a certain extent.
Okay.
And it helped my technique, actually. I realize now it helped my technique a lot.
Okay.
Just music. With drumming, your limbs have to be independent. Yeah. In other words, your right hand is doing something and your left foot is doing something else.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to do that if you're a drummer.
Yeah.
So there's four different things going on, and your brain, if you've got one. Mind you, don't need one to be a drummer, I've been told. So it's muscle memory.
Okay.
And you practice it enough, and you think, oh well, that's great. I can do that now. What else is there? So you keep learning. I'm learning even now.
Even
I don't practice even now. Because I listen to music and I think, what's that guy doing there? Yeah.
Brought to that.
So always interested.
I mean, I think you're gonna for any band in the world, and they will just be with them, because I think with your skills, it's not like main about the curriculum, but with your skill as a musician, I mean, just being you doing your tour, it's enough. It's a perfect. You're bringing the music, the history, of course, of the band that made literally the music. And I remember because I was a child, and my dad was trying to make me listen music, like kind of a hard rock, prog, and I was like, no, I like pop. And my dad taught me about Manfred Mann's Earth Band.
Right.
Yes. So when I read that, of course, I know the other band, but I was like, that's why the band that my dad was forcing me to listen when I was a kid. So your band was the first band, even before like Pink Floyd or Italian prog rock, that I listened to.
Great. Well, Earth Band was great in that I could use all my techniques. I could play jazz type stuff if I wanted to in Earth Band, and straight rock if the song needed it.
Amazing.
So because of my time with Tom Jones in the 60s,
yeah, of course,
and all the various styles I played, from big band, because we started as a rock and roll band, doing Jerry Lee Lewis and Little Richard stuff, and Tom was singing that, and he could sing it. And then he'd throw a ballad in, and everybody'd love that because he had still has a fantastic voice. The best voice ever, best untrained voice ever born, I think. It must be somewhere up there. Him and Paul Rodgers, probably. So I was able to use all those techniques in Earth Band, and we couldn't capture the excitement of our music on records. We did try, but didn't. It never happened. But we on stage, we were more like Cream than we were anything else.
You released
so it was tremendous. I was there for 7 years. I was with Tom Jones for 7 years, Earth Band for 7 years.
But with Earth Band, you release such an incredible hit still today. Guys, young generation, they cover, you see cover band or hard rock and roll, and there's your hits there in there. It's like when you put, I don't know, like Smoke on the Water. This is music that it's literally, it's the beginning of what we have today. It's the continuous of what we have today. Without Man, without AC/DC, without Uriah Heep, we could have never had this what we have today. So you participated to just gave us all this extreme genre we have today.
Yeah, I call it's the same. Our generation, my generation, was the same. We're standing on the shoulders of giants, because Buddy Rich was a giant, Gene Krupa was a giant, Louis Bellson was a giant. So we were standing on the shoulders of giants, and this generation today is still standing on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah,
they're making their own music, but the past history of rock and roll is what sort of makes the format of what they do. So it's we're all reliant on the people who have gone before us.
Yeah.
And that's very important to know at least to know some of the music that went in the past.
Exactly. I would say even straightforward going to the first, I think it was a woman, the first one, a woman that played jazz or country music, was a black woman. She was amazing. Going straight forward to that, even to the music. I studied Greek music, for example, Greek ancient music. Even from that, why not? You learn all
Yes, of
from
course.
history. Yeah.
Yeah, anything,
Yeah,
as long
exactly.
as if it's good, it's good.
Yeah, because
And
they're
if you like it, it's good.
it's even
You
better.
know, your opinion is as valid as mine
Yeah,
or anybody in the street.
yeah.
You
You
know,
might like it or I may not. It's always
some of these people say, "Oh, this is definitely the best." You can't say that. You can say, "I like this the best," and
no,
you might get 1,000 people that agree with you. But
yeah,
you know, it doesn't mean that you are correct.
and
It
no,
just means that your opinion has been
it's valid.
fortified by
Yeah.
other people. That's all.
It's your opinion.
Um,
It's
it
your
may not make it right, doesn't make it correct, but
it's
you
your
know, there are thousands. You
personal.
know,
Yeah,
with ACDC,
yeah,
we played 80,000 people every night.
of course.
You know, and I've walked past some of those 80,000 people, and they haven't even known who I was.
Yeah, because like in the hard rock music, of course, there's no such a pillar as a AC/DC, and you've been there for years. It's literally must have been something. I mean, for me, even with Manfred Man Earth was something beautiful, but with the CDC, of course, I can recognize the gigantic amount of success and amazing musician they are and were, some of them, of course. So, just I mean, just from out of nowhere, like, how did you feel the first day that you were on stage with ACDC?
um, I'm not quite sure when that was. It might have been, it might have been Donington. I'm not really
Okay,
sure now. I
in
can't
general,
remember.
your sensation.
I think it was well, it was tremendous, of course, because it was a festival
Yeah.
and we played to like 150,000 people.
Okay, can you imagine?
Um, and it's always a great experience. Don't forget, I've been doing this with Tom Jones. I
Yeah.
played Madison Square Gardens
Oh my
for
God,
a week with Tom Jones.
Tom Jones is amazing. It is amazing.
So, I mean, I was used to um,
A big crowd.
playing big stadiums, although Madison Square Gardens is not very big. I think it's 20,000 people. Oh dear. Is that all? 20,000 people.
But
Um,
that's something, you know.
and that's every night for a week.
Wow.
And that was with the Count Basie Orchestra behind Tom as well.
That's
So I got to play drums with Count Basie Orchestra
wow.
because they were playing Tom's charts,
Yeah, and I mean,
and
but
so
really,
that was a tremendous kick for me.
yeah. And you, of course, you had the pleasure and the honor to be with some of ACDC that unfortunately are no longer with us, and they will always be in the Hall of Fame of memory and love of us, of their fans, and I think of the people that are with them, of course. But you didn't stop there. I mean, you went with the Uriah Heep, with David Gilmour, and I will never forget. David Gilmour is one of the most iconic people in the entire world. Like, at least for me, and the Live at Pompeii, I just literally grew up with that. So,
Yeah, yeah. He's
how
great too. He's a great guy, by the way.
and how do you like kind of connected playing? Because it's even interesting how you with different genre in your background, going with David Gilmour, such an amazing genre, let's say a psychedelic rock, you kind of connected, because that's something that I think more people focus on AC/DC, which is amazing, by the way. But at least I'm speaking for myself. David Gilmour is and as well like Gary Newman. I mean, speaking of amazing musician. So
Yep.
yeah,
I enjoy all of it, and I don't compare either.
yeah, of
You know,
course.
how can you compare
You can.
David Gilmour with Jimmy Page, or Jimmy Page with David Gilmour,
Oh,
or Gary Moore,
yeah,
or
oh my God, you can.
Michael Schenker, or
I mean, you can. Yeah, it's like once Rudy Sarso from Quiet Riot told me in an interview, speaking about Randy Rhoads. He said he was a rock star, but you do not become a rock star. You are born as a rock star. And that's who was Rudy Sarzo, for example. And this quote stick in my mind. And all these people, and you as well, are born in that way. That was a generation of a rock star.
yeah. I know Rudy. I've played with him too.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a very, very nice guy.
Yeah.
And we played together quite a few times.
Okay.
So you know, he's a genuine person,
Yeah.
very genuine, which is not usual in this business, believe me.
I asked you about that. You, of course, know way more than me.
So
Yeah.
I used to live in California, so I used to know him quite well.
Yeah.
Used to see him quite a few times a year, along with a lot of other people in California.
Yeah,
And
that was
we got to work together on various projects. And it was enjoyable.
Yeah, that was and of course like all of like as well all these music that you play with this musician, let's say, kind of brought a little bit of this Chris Slade now timeline on tour that you're doing, like bringing like the energy, the influences, the atmosphere, and of course about the album Timescape. So I want to come back to the present, because we are here today about the present. Oh, let me see. That's so. I want to ask you, like, in your own word and your feelings, what is a timescape? What is the core and the essence of it?
The essence of it is the band Timeline, we have been recording for about 10, 12 years, at least 10 years, but it's always been covers.
Okay.
Always been AC/DC,
Oh, yeah.
Asia, Uriah Heep, all sorts of things like that. And I knew one day we'd find an outlet for it.
Yeah.
And for the about 2.5 years ago, I've always written lyrics. I did with Earthband.
Yeah.
But I'd never
had the chance to
written a song, really.
Okay.
So about 2.5 years ago, I suddenly got the urge to write a song. Okay. And I was in the recording studio at the time, so I started putting it down with the guys. And I can always sing in tune. I always say, but I don't have a voice. You know, when you've worked with Tom Jones and Paul Rodgers and David Gilmour,
yeah,
you know,
you need
you don't think of being a singer yourself because you're nothing like those guys. You know, they're tremendous.
Yeah.
So that's why I never sung before. So I could sing. I can't play a chordal instrument, so I could sing the progression I wanted to the guys, and they would pick it up, and then we'd record it, and it went together like a jigsaw, really.
Okay.
And I was so pleased with myself and the guys that I found I could write a song. So we did a few more, and they also wrote a song themselves.
Okay.
Without me. and so it's the second song on the album. It's very prog.
Survive. Yeah.
Yeah, We Will Survive. And it just it took us a couple of years, or took me a couple of years to finish off this stuff. Whenever we could get in the studio, I would get the guys together, because that's a job in itself. It's like herding cats.
Everyone together is not always easy.
Yeah, especially nowadays. That's right.
Yeah.
The guys are very busy. Some of them are music teachers.
Of course.
Some have careers doing that as well. So I knew they were great musicians when I saw them first.
Yeah.
So I wanted a band that couldn't just play AC/DC. I wanted a band that could play AC/DC and David Gilmour and Man from Man's Earth Band, and change. Like, I can change my playing to suit the song. These guys can do that. And not many people want to do that. I'm a heavy player, man. I'm not going to play that, because I'm heavy, man. Can't you tell? No, I can't, actually.
Everything came from there, not from the heavy. Everything came from what you're doing.
Say that again. I'm sorry, I didn't catch it.
Everything of the music as we know today came from what the sound and the influence you're putting out in a Timescape.
Well, it's really, I was really pleased with the way it came out and got together. And really, it's like our show anyway is like a history of music for the last 125 years. I'm not quite that old, but
as well. There's some Aretha Franklin on there, some Dolly Parton in it as well.
It is more like a history of music show, really. We play for 2 hours.
Really?
Yeah, play for 2 hours every night, and playing any shorter doesn't feel right. We have to sometimes because there are time constraints, especially on festivals.
Yeah.
But if we're on our own, we play for 2 hours. And it's half of it is AC/DC and half of it is David Gilmour, Earth Band, Uriah Heep, Asia, all those people I've worked with. So it's very, very diverse. And this Timescape album is also very, very diverse. We got some AC/DC on it. We've got a ballad on it, which I wrote, and also Uriah Heep ballad with July Morning. And I wrote for Earth Band Questions, which I wrote the lyrics for it, and Brahms wrote the melody. He and I went to school together.
That's beautiful. I mean, you have even like kind of a close friendship with someone. That's even more easier when you have to collaborate and writing and compose. So we can say that Timescape is kind of everything you played in your life, played live with your own music, not with other musicians. It's your music. So it's Chris Slade soul out there.
Yeah, that's true to a certain extent. I wish I could show more, actually, seriously. I wish I had the ability to show more. But I've always been an emotional person and also an emotional player. I know that sounds very strange for a drummer to say. You can wants to convey emotion with a drum kit, It's very easy with a guitar or a saxophone or some lyrical instrument like that.
Yeah.
But to thump things with sticks, it's very hard to convey emotion.
Yeah.
But I try to. And and it comes in things like at the end of a line of a song, put a cymbal crash there to accent, that that was something important he just sang or she just sang. Bosh, so things like that are very, very important.
Of course. And I mean,
so
yeah,
it's conveying that emotion, really.
Of course. And
that's what we try to do also in live shows.
Yeah, and you're touring as well. Like you have a,
Yeah, we haven't stopped. We've been touring we've been together for 12 years, touring for 12 years.
And now you're gonna tour again, like in October.
Yeah, we come down to Italy. It's been northern Italy.
Okay.
But we've been there for a dozen times at least.
Next time, let me know that I'm gonna join.
I love Italy. I love Italy. We all do.
Yeah.
And they're very appreciative there. Yeah. So
now we know that there's and if you would one day would have covered again to Sicily, it's even more because we have that music in their soul, even of the youngest guy, the youngest girls and guy, they still play those music. It's not extreme, they play that music. That's the beauty of it. Before going to death metal or whatsoever, there is that core. There is the beauty of the prog, the beauty of the psychedelic, the beauty of the hard rock, the beauty of the rock itself, of the country, of the jazz, of the blues. The music of the soul, I like to call it. Yeah.
I'd love to come down to Sicily.
We love that.
We don't fly very often. We've been over your neck of the woods. We were in Sardinia. We were in Sardinia.
So you could be even in Sicily.
Yes, we can do the same. So I'd love to do Sicily.
Me too. It's gonna be like hopefully soon. So thank you so much.
One of my I had it today for breakfast. One of my I found it in Sicily, which is spring onions. You understand? I don't know what you call them, but they're long, tall onions.
Yeah.
Wrapped in bacon. You get them on the street, don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Just a sec. How was your dad with his birthday?
He was really happy. Thank you to asking. He was really happy, and it was really. And when he saw your video, he was really emotional because it was. He felt that his daughter was doing something nice, like it's a dad. Sometimes you doing interviews and said, "Oh, just maybe this is not band that I know, musician that I know," and maybe he said. Maybe you're not doing something big for you. And when he sees someone like you, he saw someone like you, he said, "Oh, to be honest, my daughter is doing something."
Because I
may not notice, but we are doing a second part of the interview in a second timeline. Timeline is in a second timeline.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, second timeline. You see. That was useful. That was a game of a double word game, because of course it's not because I wasn't we weren't like satisfied of the interview, but because I think that as a musician big like you, with your experience, with your past, there are so many things to be said that I think not even this interview will be enough, but we will try to make it be, at least for now, enough. Like
okay.
Of course, like I was, first of all, you performed the 31st of August already, right?
You have to say that again.
I said, you performed already with your timeline on tour the 31st of August already, right?
No, I can't. Maybe I gotta got my hands on.
I said that you already performed on your timeline on the 31st of August, right?
Yes.
How did it go?
I can't remember. Very well. I'm sure it went very well.
Of course.
Yeah, I remember now. That was a local, almost local gig. Yeah. Yeah, it was good. Well supported.
Yeah, because the next dates is gonna be from the 12th of October. It's gonna start the other tour. So because I'm thinking that it's gonna be like in France, Luxembourg, UK, and Wales.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
Okay.
looking forward to going back to Wales, actually. I was born there,
Yeah, of course, it's hometown.
and that's my hometown. Yes.
Yeah,
So I haven't been there for a long, long time. My
really.
brother still lives there.
So you moved when you were young from Wales?
Yes, when I was 16, I started with Tom Jones, as I think I told you. I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah, you told me that. Yeah,
Um,
you mentioned, yeah.
and that meant after a year or so, that meant moving to London. And I've been living in sort of southern England ever since then.
Okay.
So I haven't lived back in Wales at all. Um,
The,
and so I've been back, of course,
of course, yeah.
but I haven't stayed there for any length of time.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course. I mean, and of course, I mean, like you said, you were like young when you started with Tom Jones,
Yeah,
and of
I
course,
turned professional. I was 16 years old. It was 1963.
you were a kid. So as a
I was.
kid, I mean, of course, I know I want to ask because I didn't ask you that because we spoke more general and more about the present in the first part. But I mean, I mean, you were 16. How Tom Jones reached out to you and our like you so young, you went with him. What your parents said?
Um, I didn't know this. My mother asked Tom to look after me. I didn't know it at the time, and of course he said yes. Of course he didn't. he was uh, he was at least 22 or 3, I think, at
Okay.
the time. But we were good. It was a bunch of guys together, you know.
Yeah.
I don't think my age came into it really. It just depends on what you do on stage, you know.
Yeah, of course.
Um, it wasn't like I'm 20 and you're 16. You should do what I say. It
Oh,
wasn't anything like that. That never came into the equation.
that's beautiful because that's sure that always there has been kind of a complicity.
Yeah, it could have been so different, but
Yeah.
you know, we were just members of the same band, and we were really close.
Yeah.
You know, we were like brothers, really,
Oh wow.
or like brothers should be, put it that way.
Yeah. Well said.
Um, yeah, we were. Yeah, even at that age, it's not legal, of course, but I was drinking beer.
I mean,
So, you know, nothing changed for when we were at home, when we were all living at home, um,
yeah.
except there wasn't any work.
Yeah, of course.
We couldn't get any work. When we were living in South Wales, we were doing very well
Yeah.
as Tommy Scott and the Senators. He was Tom Jones as Tommy Scott in those days.
Yeah.
And we were a rock and roll band
Yeah.
doing Little Richard, Jerry Lee Lewis, all that stuff. Jeans and, you know, leather jackets, all that. We were rockers.
Yeah.
And when we
Start.
went to London,
Yeah.
everybody was doing R&B,
Okay.
you
Yeah.
know, rhythm and blues music, old blues music.
It's beautiful.
Um, every band there were doing that. And our first gig was supporting the Rolling Stones.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the smallest gig of the planet.
Yeah. And it was in a tiny place. It was
With
probably only supposed to hold 200, but I bet there were 500 there.
with
Um,
his own in that.
yeah, you know, they just brought their first single out, and
Oh,
it was a hit. And I bought it. It was a Chuck Berry song called "Come On," um,
you
and that was their first. It was probably their first professional gig, although they'd been
around, yeah.
working for many years in London,
Yeah.
maybe 3 to 5 years before they did this show, but it was packed. The whole of London was packed with Stones fans. The whole of Oxford Street, which is the main shopping thoroughfare, everything stopped, because in those days it wasn't a walk street. It was, I wasn't a pedestrian street. There was traffic on it, and they stopped the traffic because there were so many. There were thousands. And they were playing exactly the same music as all the other bands in London.
Yeah.
So we were a bit strange because we were rockers, you know.
Yeah, that's more like a popish what Rolling Stone were doing, and Tom Jones, like you said, you're like the soul of the rockers, like you were mentioned, like Jerry, like the same soul that in the United States was having Jerry Lewis, Johnny Cash, and all the soul. I don't want to say country because that's not completely country, but the soul of the, like you said, jeans, pants, a leather jacket, and a bottle of whiskey.
Yeah, we didn't have the bottle of whiskey. We couldn't afford it.
It was just there. But that was, I mean, being really so young and already, because I know, of course, back at the time, it was maybe they were the same Rolling Stones of today or the same Tom Jones that is today. It was just the beginning. In your memories of today, because now you are, like I said, an icon as a drummer and as a musician, and you perform with many of the most, let's say the most incredible musician on the entire planet. Looking back to that 16 years old guy that said yes to Tom Jones, what would you say to him? Let's do it again. Let's do it again. What advice would you give to the young Chris Slade?
Practice. That's the only thing I can tell to young drummers is practice. And I used to. I don't anymore, and I haven't for a long time. And people will go, oh yeah, I know he doesn't practice. Yeah, I can tell. But I never. After I was about 25, I didn't practice anymore. Of course, if some new beat came along, I would learn it. So I kept contemporary, shall I say?
Yeah.
With what was going on.
Of course.
But I stopped in my 20s, I think, practicing, and I never had a drum kit, and still have never had a drum kit at home. Because it's too noisy. Even when I lived in the country, though, I had a house in the country. I never practiced there, even. And what I always say, what an aspiring young drummer needs is good neighbors.
As patience and patient parents. Because
yes.
Your mom and dad are not willing to listen you. But of course,
my parents used to work in the day.
Oh, so you had the time to perform, practice.
Yeah. So after school, for years, I used to come home and play for like 2 hours until they came home from work. I would stop then and have some food. And that was my practice every day. 2 hours a day for years. I started when I was about 10 or 11. And so there's till I was 16, till I was 15 and a bit, I suppose. I used to practice every day. But I was working every day also. So with Tom Jones. So we were very successful in South Wales. So we thought we'll go to London. No work. None at all. No. Even though when Tom was 23, he was told he was too old.
Okay.
He was 23 years old. And somebody said to him, you're past it. Herman's Hermits are coming up now in the charts. And you are, and they are much younger than you, and you're too old to make it as a pop singer. Tom's still singing now. He's 83 or something,
Yeah.
or maybe 85.
Whoever said that to him was a big bad provision.
Yeah, even the Stones are in their 80s.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's no age limit. As long as you can breathe, it's rather difficult if you can't breathe.
Yeah, and that's what I like what you're saying, because there is so many people in the world that say to you, oh, that you will arrive at point, and they say to me, even with doing interviews or with I don't know, going to live show, what said they're gonna say to me that there's gonna be a point in your life, Ada, when you will stop, because you have to, because you can't be 50 or 60 and doing interviews. So why not?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Why not? I could be even 90. Why
people
not?
shouldn't put limitations on other people. And it's only their opinion,
Exactly.
There's a song on TIMESCAPE on the album, and it's all about believing in yourself.
Yeah.
And so that self-belief, especially when you're a DJ or a writer or anything like that, anything creative,
Yeah.
You've got to believe in yourself, because there'll be people all along the way that will say, you're not good enough. You're just not good enough.
Exactly.
That shouldn't stop you. It should make you try harder.
Exactly.
Even if you don't believe them, believe in yourself.
At the end of the day,
because it's so important in any creative business. It's so important in any business. If you're a mechanic, you'll never make it as a mechanic. You don't tighten things properly. Don't believe them. Just get on with it.
It's like my main job is being a naturopath. It's like an herbalistic, and here people is close-minded, and they say to me all the time, "Oh, try to." And maybe the people are close-minded, but I do not stop chasing my passion about this job. If here is not working, I'm gonna take a suitcase and I'm gonna try when people are more open-minded. There's an age, and they say to me, "You're close to close to 40. It's already the age of having." There's no age, please. It's a number. Bye.
Yes, that's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yes. And the thing is, you've got to get good at what you do, as good as you can be anyway.
Yeah.
So that's where the practicing comes in.
Yeah.
You must practice all the time until you get it right. If you get it right, you can stop practicing.
But as well, you have to. But in any case, if you're a writer, you'll just write whatever you want to write. If you are a musician, play, practice, like even making a lot of mistake, just go to, even if you like to singing, go to some karaoke night and just make a lot of mistakes.
And people say, "Oh, I'm a heavy player." I can't play that. If it's country rock, oh, I can't play country. It's the same stuff.
Over and over again. Yeah.
It's exactly the same stuff.
It's like
whether it's country rock or heavy metal or whatever.
It's like it's like
learn to play it.
Exactly. It's when at the beginning, if I remember, when Johnny Cash was really at the beginning, everyone was saying to him, "You're never going anywhere. You're never going anywhere." Let's look at today. His music is a legacy for all the life, forever. And it changed, like Tom Jones, like anyone, the music course, like Pink Floyd changed the music course, the history. Like we were saying last time, today, if we have heavy metal, we have an Iron Maiden, if we had, I don't know, Slayer, even the pop music, Madonna. It's because there were Pink Floyd, there were Tom Jones, there was Johnny Cash, there were Fred Astaire, even before. It's because of these artists, because of you. Otherwise, the music, it will stop. We only have, yes. and of people, because all of your history, music history, is made of people that always been told them you can't do it, but they pursue day after day, and then all of you give to us,
there's too many notes.
You gave to us music that today we use it for literally dreaming. Like I was telling you, my dad, he was I think a teenager, and he was a kid. He was like 9 years old, and my grandfather, he was a doorman, so he wasn't the most like luxurious world. Every small cent my dad can have, like the weekly pay, was giving my grandfather, like, I don't know, 5 cents to my dad. My dad was running to the music store, buy a vinyl, buy a magazine, and he was a kid, and he grew up like that. So all of that legacy, he gave it to me, and still today, if I'm able to see that vinyl of Pink Floyd, that vinyl of AC/DC, that vinyl of, like we have, for example, in Italy, this band called PFM, it's thanks to my dad that never gave up and used those small money to buy his passion.
Yep.
Passion, yeah. And
passion is the key.
Yeah, and Manfred Mann, and there is as well between that, there is Manfred Mann, of course, between there is vinyls, of course. So my dad was...
somebody said to me about a week ago, they said, why are the Rolling Stones still get up on stage? And I said, well, they don't need the money. They're performers. They get on stage. That's what performers do.
Yeah.
And you've got to keep doing that for as long as you can. If people don't come to your concerts, still keep doing it if you can.
Yeah, always.
Until they catch up with you,
Yeah. It's like they say many times of band that I think that is not... I mean, they say, oh, they did the wrong time. Why they just don't get away from the chance, drop off? I mean, why? Like Aerosmith just announced some weeks ago, they announced they was retiring from the scene. I mean, if it's something that everyone wanted, okay, but they keep on going. They could have keep on going forever. It's like if all Pink Floyd were still together today, and they were doing live show, they were packed, because that's one of the band that, no matter if you like it or not, we have to admit that without them, almost nothing will happen in the music scene of today. That there was magic. There's really magic in music. Like Manfred Mann too, this is magic in music. And this music, I think that unfortunately we can't, until it's now, we can't have it like music like that, because already happened, but we can relive it. We can listen and relive the magic every time we want, because you have Manfred Mann, because we had Pink Floyd, because even Tom Jones, like especially for the young rebel, the young boys that are rebel, they should listen to Tom Jones at the beginning and said, this is what was being actually a rebel, a rocker.
Yeah, you have to be a bit of a rebel to be a rock musician or to be a musician. Unless it's classical, of course. I don't think they want rebels in classical, but you still gotta take your time and practice instead of going to the soccer match. That's the thing.
Yeah, of course.
That's what you give up.
Yeah.
I know nothing about soccer. Some of my band do. They follow it, but I just never was interested. I was just interested in banging drums.
And of course, being a rebel, because like Iggy Pop sang "Rebel to Rebels." So, and and of course, being a rebel. What was the most rebellious thing you did? Of course, as a young boy, as a musician, whatever. Like it said, okay, I'm proud of being a rebel because I'm a rocker.
Well, I wore shoes without socks. Rebellious. You can be rebellious without hurting people. And that's the criteria, I think.
Exactly.
Do what you want as long as you don't hurt anybody.
Always, always. Yes. That's
yeah. So that's my only rebellious nature, really. But you know, to be anything, you've got to take your own path.
Yeah.
To be anything at all, you've got to say, "Oh, I want to be a mechanic. I want to be a drummer. I want to be a bass player. I want to be a singer." You know, it's funny that the singers that wanted to be drummers. Tom Jones was one.
Wanted to be drummers?
Yeah, he wanted to be a drummer. And Brian Johnson, another one, he wanted to be a drummer.
Wow.
And he said, but I couldn't afford the drum kit, so I bought a microphone. That's what he said to me, honestly.
And of course, but you are a drummer, and you want to be a singer?
No, I never wanted to be a singer, as I think I said to you. When you work with people like Tom Jones and Paul Rodgers and David Gilmour, why would you even think of being a singer when you're working with those guys, you know? So no, I never wanted to be a singer. I could sing in tune, which some singers can't sing in tune, but I could sing in tune, but I didn't have a voice.
It was
not a good enough voice. If I'd trained it or something, or somebody had said to me, oh, that sounds quite good, which is what happened with that song on TIMESCAPE, which is Time Flies.
Yeah.
All the band, all Timeline said to me, well, you should sing that because, it's your song. You should do it.
Yeah.
So that's the only time in my life that I thought to be a singer on an album. I've always done vocal backing.
Yeah.
And I've always had production ideas. But I never thought of singing myself on anything at all. So until that came around. So I might do it again next time.
Of course. I mean, why don't you do it? It's always a beautiful memory and it's always an experience. And it's just your music now. So that's the important. You can, in your music, you can even think about the music, the song that you're composing and thinking, yeah, with this one, I can actually sing because it's a line I can. Because I think as a drummer, maybe you're sometimes more focusing on playing than singing. That's why I'm gonna bring you the question that someone brought to me and asked me, which is I know that it has any meaning, but let's say it because all the time they speak as a like a gear of musician, gear of that, like about the guitarist, bass player, vocals, guitarist, bass player, keyboardist, but you've been playing since the 60s, the drum. So in your, how do you see the evolution of the drum as an instrument since you started until today? What's changed? And if something has changed, what was something better before or something better today?
No, I think it's better today because all music has evolved.
Yeah.
It's all the same, to be honest, in spirit.
Yeah.
But they're just trying different things.
Okay.
But I think all sorts of things were tried in the 70s and 80s. Okay. And all they do it is all younger musicians doing is trying to find their feet, trying to find their style. That goes for writers as well, of course.
Yeah.
And good luck to them because their generation will like them.
It's about
and it doesn't matter if you're 16 or 60. If you like something, you like it.
Yeah.
And it's your opinion, and it can only be your opinion. There may be a few thousand other people that agree with you, but that doesn't mean it's correct. It doesn't mean it's true. It just means there's a whole lot of you that think this about this band or this musician or whatever.
Yeah.
So you've also got to be philosophical about things. And I found you got to take it, good or bad, with a pinch of salt. Really,
Yeah.
just go along with it,
Yeah,
good
exactly.
or bad. It's going to change. If you wait a bit, it'll change. Whether it's bad,
Or
it'll get good.
you can
If it's
escape.
good, if
Yeah.
it's good, it's going to get bad.
You can't escape to change. And of course, just before, like, we just gave a let's say not a definitive but momentanium ending, because we're gonna continue in the future when after the tour is gonna end. I want to see how it's go, like at the end of November we're gonna talk again. It's gonna go check out how it go, how did all the time escape tour. What else? Like one, because of course your career is amazing, but there is really one memory, Chris, that today really sticks with you about all that said that day was the most beautiful, not the one, let's say one of the most amazing memory I got with me.
That I've got.
Yeah, that you have. You can be even just playing by yourself. Any type of memories that you've got in your career.
Oh, that's difficult. It's always difficult because when somebody asks you a question like that, you can't think of everything all at once.
Yeah, of course.
It's a bit like that movie, Everything All at Once.
Yeah.
I think every time I do a new project, these days, it's writing a new song that I can get excited about. But a new project like joining Tom Jones, like joining Man for Man's Earth Band. And then you got to work at it. But the initial thing, I remember when I got called by David Gilmour. I was like, wow, this is David Gilmour calling me. And I'd already been a professional drummer for how long? I don't know. Centuries. But I was very impressed by him calling me. And then the same day, Jimmy Page called me. The same day. About an hour and a half apart. So that was a memorable occasion, definitely. I had a few beers then.
You should. I think really, Chris, that is not because only with the people that you play, but for the career that you have. You should be in the Rock and Roll fame. You should be.
Well, I'm sort of technically there with AC/DC because they got inducted into the Hall of Fame.
You should have
Phil Rudd was back with him at the time, but I always think that I'm an honorary member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
You should have your own, because your name is printed already in the music history, I think, and everyone that, I mean, like I said, my dad it's just your name is in the history of music, and will always
Thank you for that.
Yeah,
and I've been there, and they've got some of my money. I paid admission to go in.
It's because
so they owe me me some money.
I think that Jimmy Page and David Gilmour for calling you, I think you don't pay that. You just receiving already the call is kind of a sign that you left your mark. Literally, you took your stick and threw it to the wall, and the Hall of Fame.
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. And like I said, my dad was really emotional, and my dad is not easily emotional. He's really my dad is really serious man. So when he saw that, it was really epic. So for my dad acknowledging that, I use my dad as a proof. Like, he got emotional. That means that is bigger than the usual. So.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. So please, really, as if it's okay for you, at the end of all your tour that I'm gonna say is gonna start the 12th of October and then the 30th of November. So around for December, if it's okay for you, we're gonna do another interview where we're gonna talk how the tour goes, how the people reacted to TIMESCAPE, and just wishing good epic Merry Christmas before Christmas. If it's okay.
Right. Okay. Sure.
It's good.
Why not? That'd be good. I'd look forward to that.
Yeah, me too. It's always a pleasure. And thank you, really thank you for your music and thank you for everything. And even for this second, people doesn't know, this second, first, whatever, this big interview. It's an honor, really.
No, not at all.
It is.
I enjoy it. You know, I still enjoy doing stuff, doing music stuff.
And always doing and releasing.
And I'll keep going as long as I possibly can. People say to me, you know, you're going to retire. Nope.
Oh. Put all the music out.
When I stop breathing, I'll retire.
I will need something else after TIMESCAPE. So write new music. Thank you so much, Chris. And
thank you.
Good rest of the day and have a beautiful weekend almost.
Yes, thanks. Yes, and the same to you, of course, and your dad.
Thank you. I will say that to him. Thank you so much, Chris. Have a good rest of the day.
You're very welcome. Bye for now.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.